You're listening to the Artist King podcast.
Welcome to the Artist King podcast, number 27. I am your host, DTM. Artist King podcast is sponsored by the law offices of Deborah Gonzalez, Atlanta Tech Village, C4 Atlanta, Wonderroot, Burnaway, RevolveSkate.com, Rick Clear Video, VelocityScreenPrint.com, Lucom.com, and DenominatorGraphics.com. This week we share the Artist King artist interview with Allyssa RocketPower Lewis, recorded earlier this summer before her participation in the Artist King Women Artists panel discussion at Emory University. Allyssa shared a bit of her passion as an animation artist, her path as a mentor, and what she is looking to accomplish in her profession. Last weekend, November 22nd, we had the Artist King Mano a Mano art show, The Way of the Artist at the Atlanta Tech Village. Visit artistking.org website and the Facebook page in the coming days to see some of the pictures of what you missed out on. Now on to the Artist King artist interview with Allyssa RocketPower Lewis. This is DTM with Artist King podcast. Chilling here with Allyssa RocketPower Lewis. Hello, Allyssa. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Tell us about this Rocket Power part in your name, because I've seen it on Facebook for I don't know how long.
Well, I started Rocket Power back in 2008. I was before Skittles, and because I really love Skittles, and I tend to take the name of things I really love. Like I wanted to work at the Skittles factory and everything, come up with flavors. And Rocket Power, I really enjoyed the show. And I figured that I would have my last name be Rocket Power, and I would just marry someone whose name was Rocket Power, and that's how it would happen. And I was just putting the message out there, you know.
Okay. So if anybody,
so if anyone has,
Power?
And I have met two people who have names that mean Rocket Power. It's like the power of the rocket is a translation of their last name, or something along that line. So you know. Not 100% there. When I find exactly Rocket Power, then
you will remain single until that day.
Yes, it's never gonna be with anyone until I find the right person.
Wow. Okay. So, what does Rocket Power mean to you?
It means propelling forward. I think about rockets. I think about how strong they are. Once they're detonated, they're off. And they don't slow down, and they don't care who's in their way. They just keep going. And I really take that into account in my work. And I think that's what most people associate that with. Yeah. They go, oh, yeah, you're really rocket-powered. It's not what I intended my name to be. but it does just remind me when I see it and when people say that to me to remember to keep going forward and to not slow down.
Right. That's what I see in my head when I see your name. I know your name is Allyssa. I know I've seen you talk to you many times, and but that Rocket Power gets me. Oh yes, she's on it. So tell us, where are you from, and what do you do?
I am from a little West Indian quarter in Troy, Brooklyn, and I moved to Georgia when I was 6 years old. This is like when my family got a home here. We went back and forth as a military family.
Oh, okay.
But I've lived in Georgia most of my life. What was the second question?
What do you do?
Well, I am an animator.
Okay.
And I enjoy bringing images to life.
Very nice. So you're a military brat?
Army brat.
Okay. And is your parents still, who was your father?
My dad, yeah.
He's still in the military?
No, he's not anymore. After Desert Storm, he got out. He doesn't really like war.
Oh. Hey, it's true. It's real. That's real.
Yeah.
I know. I was in the Marine Corps a long time ago. And one of the guys that I met in there, he said that he joined the Marine Corps because before that he was a cop. And a somebody had pulled a shotgun on him. And so he decided to change his career because he didn't want to get shot. I said, what?
Are you going to the military?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe he thought he'd be behind a desk, like my father did.
There you go. Yeah.
And then when they told him that he needed to go out in the field, he's like, I have a family.
Yeah, I got you. So do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one older brother and one younger sister. We're all a year apart. Anybody
an artist?
My brother draws from time to time, and my sister likes to do crafts. Neither of them seriously. Like, they don't dedicate any long amount of time. They may have something they're doing once a year. They may sit down and do something.
Got it. But so where did your art inclinations come from growing up? What happened?
I started doing art when I was an infant, when parents hand you like the pen when they're in a meeting and you start doing it on paper, and I just kept doing it, and I never thought that it wasn't serious. It was always like a thing to me. I remember when I was 2, I was watching, I could read and write at 2.
What?
And I was being scouted for preschools, and at 3, I had to take a lot of exams. But in California, they allowed a 3-year-old to go into start the daycare school program, and maybe because it was military as well, they were more lenient.
Sure.
But I was aware, and most of the other kids were aware too.
That's weird. So
Yeah.
You remember stuff?
Of course I do.
What?
I remember when I learned to read, because my mother thought it was not that important to teach the 2-year-old to read. You mostly learn to tuck the sheets in when you're making up the bed and that kind of...
learn how to dress yourself.
Little things like
wipe
that.
Yourself, yeah.
But I was more interested in the symbols on the paper. I see you looking at these. What does this mean?
Right.
And she took time out and taught me how to read. But I remember watching Looney Tunes and seeing Bugs Bunny being drawn to life. And I didn't know that I could do what I was doing regularly and already loved as like something to do in life. I already knew about jobs because my mom would go to a job. I saw other people at their jobs. And like, my job could be making these drawings come to life. And I remember going to my mom and saying, I'm gonna, I think the word I knew was cartoon. And she's like, cartoonist, something like that. She had told me, and I'd gotten stuck on that as my definition of animation. I'm gonna do this. She was like, that's what you're gonna do in life? You're not gonna be she was like, doctor or nurse, something she was like saying, and I was like, no, I'm gonna do this. And I just knew from that, I never changed it, that that's what I'm gonna do.
Wow. You knew, you decided early.
Yeah.
And committed to it.
And I didn't know what programs were used for animation. I saw the artist in the cartoon was doing it on paper. So I just was like, I'm going to do it on paper, and maybe I just need special paper. And then the character will start moving if I just keep drawing. But then reviewing more episodes and then more shows use these examples of things being drawn to life. And I started learning about flip books, so I started making those. And then eventually I went to school and learned what programs were being used to do animation.
Right. So as very young, you knew. And did you look for those programs in school or in classes?
No.
Art classes or anything?
Nobody had known the word animator. We always used cartoonist. And nobody was into it until I was in high school. I had one friend who said she also wanted to do it. And we would do comic books. And that's mostly what people at school would do. We would do our loose illustrations, and we would make comic books for each other and write stories and keep up with that. There were a lot of fine arts opportunities, but none for animation. I went to a kind of a backwoods school where if you had Excel, you were fancy. So,
okay.
We also didn't really have a lot of art classes. I remember them getting taken away when budgets got cut. So when I was graduating, there weren't really art opportunities. But college was a huge wake up.
Where'd you go?
My first college was Wesleyan.
Okay.
the counselor from my high school suggested it because she asked what my fallback plan was if I wasn't going to be an animator. And I said, a nun. So,
What?
because there's no point of being a part of civilization.
What? That's it. We're going to shut it down. If I can't be what I want to be.
You're either gonna do the art thing, or you're just gonna worship the Lord 24/7. These are the two things that I want to do. And at Westland, an all-girls Methodist school in the middle of Macon, you could do both.
Wow.
So that was suggested. I went there for 1 year. My first semester, I won the school-wide art competition against the whole school, so I knew I had to leave immediately. I started like panicking and wondering, where am I going to go now? And
so you didn't know about animation and the process or where to get that kind of schooling. So you at least found the drawing classes or the
I asked when I went to the school. I was like, can I learn animation here? And the people who were doing our admissions, like, yeah, you're going to learn to do this and that. And they didn't use animation terms, but I didn't know them anyway. But they're just assuring me that I could. When I got there, it's a fine arts program entirely. I mean, you're not learning a lot of digital things. There's absolutely no way, when looking back, that I could have been an animator finishing there. So it was a little upsetting, but I did get a free ride scholarship there. So not that bad.
At least to try it out.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah.
Try before you buy.
Yeah, I did. So at least it didn't cost me any money. One of my cousins suggested SCAD. She had known about animation schools in Georgia, and I'd been calling around what schools offer it. So I was really glad that they did, and I made sure that they had real animation classes. Yeah, and when I went to go visit the school, they showed me other students' work, and so I decided I would go to SCAD.
The one in Atlanta, the one in
Atlanta.
Atlanta, okay.
I had never considered Savannah because my family lives in Gwinnett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had moved to Gwinnett, so Savannah would have been too far for them to come down.
Were you using well-known characters for your stories, or you creating your own?
I had most of my characters were just out of my head or my friends. We did.
You made them characters.
Yeah, we would do stories based on our own personalities, and sometimes we would throw in a character that we liked. Most of the characters were of my friends or characters out of our heads, and sometimes we would throw in characters from shows that we enjoyed and make them do like what we wanted to happen on the episode.
Okay. So when you will finally make it to SCAD, did you have an idea of projects that you wanted to create out of your own head? Or did you want to learn the business and then find a job at Disney?
Coming from small town, majority of my life, I had really small dreams. And my biggest goal was to be exactly like the animator from the Bugs Bunny cartoon. To sit at my desk, a little grumpy, and to pine away, drawing after drawing, flipping page, and then I would die because I would be old. I would have done that my whole life. I didn't think about it ever becoming more than just sitting at a desk flipping pages. I got to SCAD. Well, when I first got to Westland, the first college, I learned about Photoshop, which I thought was witchcraft. And I had a panic attack, and I was crying, and I left the classroom. I didn't know technology like this existed. I was barely even allowed to use the internet. So I had to apply through the school. It was like I didn't know a lot of the programs. I get to school, I see things like you click a button and like you could make things on the screen disappear, and I just freaked out. And I was gone for like maybe an hour. We had like 2-hour classes or whatever long it was.
Wow.
But I came back in and I just like stood at a distance and watched the teachers use these magic programs. And they had the Adobe suite on the computer. I didn't touch all of the programs. I was way too intimidated. But then I got comfortable with Photoshop. When I got to SCAD, I was like, I know Photoshop. but we used so many other programs, and it was